Welcome to Let's Get Real
Estate.
We're your hosts, Marianne
And Ellie.
and we're creating a space to talk through some of the most important topics in life: career, parenthood, homeownership, community, and so much more.
We'll have honest conversations with each other and with guests as we learn and grow alongside one another.
We work at the #1 real estate company in Jacksonville, but we're invested in our community beyond the transaction. We hope to be a resource to you in your real estate goals and as working women.
Thank you. Real women, real estate, real community, real life. Welcome back to the Let's Get Real Estate podcast. Just me, Ellie, today as your host. I am so excited to have two guests with me today, though. We're talking about all the good that coffee does for us personally, but also all the good that coffee can do in the community. So I'm really excited to have Jamily here, who's one of our realtors at Root, and then also Jason, who founded Social Grounds Coffee. So first I'm going to start with Jamily. Give me a little introduction. Jamily is like our coffee guru at Root, so that's why this was the perfect episode for her.
I was jumping up and down when Ellie asked me to be on this one. Yes, I am Jamily. I have been a realtor for about 3 years or so, maybe a little more. I have 4 kids, married the love of my life, and live here in Jacksonville. Love everything about it.
Love it. Okay, Jason, give us a little introduction to you.
Yeah, Jason Kellaway, founding and owner of Social Grounds Coffee, beautiful wife Mandy, 4 children, Dylan, Carson, Riley, and Landon. A lot of 17, 15, 15, and 12.
Wow.
Twins?
No, we're actually a blended family.
Love that.
Yeah. So it's a lot of work.
Yes.
Yeah, thankful for 1 daughter. That's about all I can handle. Beautiful, challenging, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
I always tell people, man, like, hey, the biggest challenge of my life has been like being a husband and father. Yeah, everything else seems kind of trivial in the pursuit of life.
Gosh, that's true. And it's like when you are intentional about wanting to serve those roles well, then you really know it's the hard. Yeah.
Oh, they know everything. You can't hide. You can't
so
put on
true.
something, you know.
It's true.
Like they know the good, bad, and the ugly, right?
It's so true.
And so we've got to kind of grow from that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we just know as people who are very busy ourselves, and I know both of you are too, especially even just with families, coffee is one of those things that keeps us rolling, keeps us running, and it serves us a lot of good, like I said, personally, but also can really do good in the community. So that's what we're going to get into. But first, before we get into that, we're going to do some rapid fire questions, get to know each other a little bit better, because really this is the first time the 3 of us are all sitting together.
Yes.
So everyone will get to know us, but we're also getting to know each other. So typically I try to format these with something that has to do with the subject we're talking about, but I could only come up with very few coffee questions. So I got creative on this one, and we're doing a little bit of an acrostic poem scenario. And we're going to do a question that starts with each letter of coffee. So first and foremost, Jamily, I'm going to go to you first. Okay. What can you not live without?
Coffee.
That right on the nose. Love it. Jason?
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I'm a believer, and so coffee like pops up in my head, and then the other side of me says, if I had to give it up, I'd give it up. For Jesus. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
My faith is the most important thing to me, and I would say it's the thing that has certainly seen me through so many trials.
Yeah.
So it would have to be the thing.
Yeah.
And I know actually, Jamily, that would be your answer on it too. Yeah.
For sure.
But coffee, hey, I think Jesus loves coffee though. So hey, me and him have a relationship through that coffee and his word and everything else. So
there you go.
I'm all about it.
Amazing. Okay. So for O, on time or late?
On time.
Yeah, you're for sure on time.
Yeah, and I'm treading on the late side. I know it's bad, but like I am, and I think as you get busier and you do more, you really like I think people think that no is a bad thing.
Right.
When you say no to something, you're actually saying yes to what's important.
So true. And
so I'm really kind of cultivating that really now of what that is, and sometimes honestly, gosh, relationships so big to me that. It's a tension.
The hard times.
It's a tension.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you stop for people. I was just with a friend, and he actually works for me, and just kind of resolving some things and having good communication.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that he was like, man, we're just having these conversations. And I'm like, but in the day and age that we're in, conversation and communication are so needed.
It's everything.
Yeah.
It really is.
Thank God that we're having a conversation. Right. And we're not just dismissing it, and things are just like
it's the way you
there.
learn and connect to people.
Yeah.
I'm so with you. I definitely tend towards the late side. Fashionably late is what I like to call it. Normally because I don't have things together. But,
I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised by that.
Here's the thing is I can turn it on when I need to.
Yes.
Like when I was
I feel the
on a college dance team, like we had workouts at 6 o'clock in the morning and I was always the first one there, like at 5:45 because I knew like I could get a strike if I didn't show up.
Yeah.
So in that regard, like I'm prepared, I'm ready, but I definitely trend more towards the late side. Okay, we're moving on to the first F, feel good film.
The Sandlot.
Oh,
that's
classic.
good. That is.
Actually, I didn't know which one to pick, but my husband was like, duh, Sandlot.
That's
you
a
know,
classic.
When I moved to the U.S., I didn't know any English, obviously.
Right.
And that was probably one of the first movies that I really watched like over and over and over that summer. And so now when I watch it, I hear words that I'd heard for the very first time. So I
Wow.
have like a really cool connection to
That is the
Golly.
coolest.
Yeah, now my kids are watching it and they love it.
Oh, I love
cool.
that. Okay, Jason.
Gosh, I'm stuck. I still don't know, honestly.
Maybe even just one recently that you were really into.
I know. I'm trying to think.
I can give you mine if you want time
Yeah,
to think.
yeah.
Okay. So I have two off the
Yeah.
top of my head. One, I just watched it this past weekend, Sweet Home Alabama. That movie is just like every time you turn it on, it's a tearjerker. There's just a lot of elements to it. And then I am one of the few people, me and my sister, and actually my extended family, we love the movie The Pink Panther, like the one with
seen
Steve
it.
Martin.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous how much we quote that movie on an everyday basis, and we're probably the only people, but it's one that we like love to turn on and just laugh to.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still stuck because you know why? And my wife hates it because here's the thing is normally we'll get into movies and I'll start watching it. And if it's like a chick flick or something
yeah.
she wants to watch, literally I'll be asleep in like 10 minutes. Like when we first got married, she was like, I didn't think you were actually sleeping. I thought you were kidding. And I was like, no.
No, I just really am passed out.
Yeah. So I tend to watch a lot of like action, like fighting, war. And
So that's not necessarily feel good. I'm with you.
yeah. So that tends to entertain me and watch. And so,
Okay.
yeah, that's probably why.
That makes sense. That makes
But,
sense.
yeah.
Okay. What about first time you tried coffee?
Real coffee, college, but
Okay.
like café con leche, cafecito,
Yeah.
young.
Love that. Of
Beautiful.
course. Yeah, I love that.
Beautiful.
Okay. What about you, Jason?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same. I think you try coffee, and you can drink coffee, but when you have good coffee, what we call third way specialty coffee,
Yeah.
I think it changes the game.
Yeah.
Like I had it delivered to me, and it was my introduction to along my coffee journey and
Right.
getting into roasting. And our shop and cafe was from a company out of Alabama, and there was one that was from Rwanda, Burundi, and Guatemala, and they
Wow.
were my first connection to like sourcing
Right.
and
Yeah.
packaging. So I was repackaging roasted coffee there.
Yeah.
And then I got into roasting. And so that was some of my first specialty coffee. So
that.
higher graded coffee, very clean, well balanced. And so it was one of those where I was like, oh man, this is like coffee.
Right.
And I began this journey where, hey, try it without anything in it. And they were like, I don't really do that. And I'm like, but just try it. And they go, wow. And I'm like, yes, that's good coffee.
Yeah, you'll have to teach me that.
That's good coffee.
You'll have to teach me that.
We'll work on it.
I did not grow up with coffee in my house. Like neither of my parents drank coffee,
Yeah.
which I think that's something a lot of my relatives, like they woke up and whether or not they necessarily liked it, it was just a part of their everyday routine. So I would say I probably like in high school would try like again, what we're talking about, like Starbucks Frappuccinos or
yeah.
you know,
All the sugar, all the
yeah,
cream.
exactly.
Yes.
A coffee like that around that age. But then same, it was probably college when I tried like real coffee.
Yeah.
And now you can tell such a difference
Yeah.
between what's real and what's not.
100%.
Okay. First E, exercise of choice.
running.
Yeah, you're a big runner.
I used to be not a runner, but running. I love
Okay.
it now.
Yeah,
Jason?
yeah. More CrossFit,
Yeah.
kind of functional training. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. So,
Love that.
yeah. Trying to get back into some Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I trained for a
cool.
while. Yeah, and my old professor has started to stop by the shop.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I found you now, and you have great coffee. And he's like, when are you coming back? And I go, I feel like we had the conversation where it was like, I don't want to just come back. I know I'm busy, and I know my season. I know my pace.
Yeah.
And I know when I can fit something in, and I know it's not the time.
Right.
So I said, but I think I'm coming close to that.
Yeah.
So I think you start to see where some hard work pays off, and you start to be released in areas
So
as
true.
an owner. So
Yeah.
so I'm hoping it's soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I teach Pure Barre, and I have for a long time, so I really like that. But I'm kind of open to everything. I really love these kickboxing classes too, and I want to get in like a real kickboxing gym. But that's the same thing, like investment to really want to do it well and not just like pop in for a class kind of thing. Okay, last but not least, what are you easily entertained by?
Cooking videos,
Ooh, yeah,
they suck me in.
that's a
big
good
time.
one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think, gosh, I'm thinking about it. I think when I go to purchase something, God, you should see me trying to purchase a new bed for us. Oh my gosh. I swear I spent 2 weeks and I was over it. Reviews, research. And so I just got into it and I'm like, golly. So major purchases and I get into like watching videos, reviews and doing all the things.
It is crazy because then you start like counteracting. Like as soon as you read the good one.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like someone I know, my husband.
Yeah.
So
Very
I guess
much
I would
the
be
researcher.
Yeah, easily. And then I get over it. Then I'm mad at myself and I'm like, I'm confused maybe. I think
I've looked at too many things.
now you're confused. Yeah, 100%.
I would say I'm easily entertained by my dog. Like she just barely blinks, and I think she's
so
just the
sweet.
cutest thing in the whole wide world. So she could do anything, and I'm really obsessed by it. Okay, so now we're going to bring it home into kind of some more of our questions around the subject of coffee. And I think, as I said before, coffee is something that keeps us running, but it's also something that can really fuel your home, and it's something that can be a part of it, but also just has a larger and greater good. So I'm going to get started first with Jamily, and also y'all feel free to jump in all the time. But Jamily, just like as a mom of 4, as a realtor, potentially starting your own business, stuff like that. You clearly have a lot going on. So how does coffee fuel your life?
It is the first thing I do. I mean, I open my eyes. Thank God that I have woken up today and I head straight to my coffee pot. There is something very, not in a ritualistic way, but more of a comfort and knowing that, my day is going to be nuts. It's going to be, I have things planned out. It doesn't always go the way that I have planned.
Right.
But my morning is always the same. I've got that hot cup. I know how long it takes to brew. I know how all of those things. And that is a very comforting and easy and soft way to start the day, if that makes sense.
Yeah. One of the terms I've heard a lot recently and just different things I'm reading is rhythm, like setting up rhythms to your life where it doesn't have to be like a rut or anything that you're like, is like a crazy habit, but something that creates a rhythm in your life that is going to see you to the next thing.
It's beautiful. If I close my eyes, I could literally, I know how to make the coffee. I know, how much I have ground and how, all of that. So
Oh my gosh.
it's really peaceful.
Yeah. And do you prefer hot all the time?
Not all the time, but in the morning, my
In the
first
morning.
cup has to be hot.
Okay. What about you, Jason?
I'm kind of the same.
Yeah.
I want to tell you something that I probably don't tell a lot of people. I don't even make coffee at home.
You don't?
No. I live in Springfield. I'm 2 blocks away from the shop.
So true.
Literally, I get up
Might as
and
well
I
pop
go
over.
in. And then here's the other part that I'll have to admit is that Brandon, such a good guy.
Yeah.
So he does so many things within the company, within the ministry we do in life. And literally, if he's working or close, like he literally like drops it off at the house.
Oh my gosh.
So I walk downstairs and my wife
Wow.
was like, what is this? And I'm like, he's a good friend. Like he knows that like I got to function, Hey, 28, I'm 45. And he's like, I got to get this guy going.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, but do you drink coffee on a regular basis? Like is it an everyday thing?
1,000%. And it used to be a lot more. I think I used to drink, and sometimes it is. I'll be roasting and Brandon will be doing kind of marketing, like social and like continues just to brew coffee.
Wow.
And like continues just like to bring it in. And we have so many like friends. We try other people's coffee.
Right.
And we'll drink our own. And so it like sometimes it's 5 cups. I've tried to go back to 2.
Wow.
Like literally in the morning. And it gets real bad because I drink a black eye.
Okay.
And I do drink cream and I have sugar in it.
Okay.
And so like my whole staff has continually tried to, first they frown like, Jason, I cannot believe, like they look away as I'm pouring sugar in there constantly. They're purists. They drink pour over.
Yeah.
But I drink it all.
Right.
But I'm like, literally, this is like, I'm getting going. So
Right.
like espresso on top of coffee. And I got in 1 week where I literally had a quad black eye and they were like, Lindsay looked at me. She's one of our staff members, and she goes, Jason, no.
You're heading down a dark road.
She was
a dark
like,
roast.
she was like, no.
Definitely not.
She's like, please go back. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, how about you? Like, how regularly would you say you drink it, Jamily?
Oh, I mean, constantly.
Yeah.
I could drink it all day.
Really?
All day. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Caffeine has no true effect.
it still does on me for now.
It doesn't keep me awake or anything.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
It still does for me.
But it doesn't. But I think, like, as I've gotten older and trying to like look at recovery and your health and stuff, I said I don't think it helps because I mean we can fall asleep at the drop of a hat,
Right.
But what is it? Good sleep. So now I started
interesting.
to monitor. I have a Whoop band.
I just learned about those this weekend.
Oh gosh! So I have found out that it takes me 2 hours to actually go to sleep. So to be in bed, 2 hours.
Right.
So if I think that I'm going to sleep at like 10,
Right.
it's actually not till 12.
Yeah.
Honestly. And so I try to kind of monitor those things and trying to have a cup of coffee a little bit like later. And then, but you get into coffee and like, gosh, I go to Evangel Temple and like they bring me coffee constantly. Like, oh, here, Jason. Like,
Why don't you
just
try
like,
this?
I don't like, just have it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Gosh, yeah.
so sometimes I try to get out of that rut. But
When did you start drinking coffee on a regular basis?
honestly, to be honest with you, I struggled like before I got saved, drugs, alcohol, trying to commit suicide. So coffee it got introduced during like trying to get back on track.
Wow.
So I think you see that in a lot of like AA, sobriety and all of that.
Yeah.
Or coffee. And coffee's trendy too.
Sure.
I mean, coffee is hugely trendy, but I always tell people, man, hey, like coffee had a lot to do with, something in your hand, something
That's
comforting,
powerful.
something that actually keeps you going,
Right.
So, and there is so much depth to coffee and agriculture. Then you take it to the farm level and lives are cultivating this coffee and families and communities. And that's our heart. Like we really want to go into that in the next like 3 to 5 years. Yeah. So,
Gosh, that's amazing. Okay, so now that you've kind of started on it, tell us a little bit more about how you started Social Grounds and really what the mission is behind it.
Yeah. So we actually started Cup of Love Ministry first.
Okay.
So that started 7 years ago in January, where I was still homeless, living in my car, and just felt the Lord calling me to, use coffee. The promise was I will turn a cup of coffee into an ocean of love.
Wow.
And so just using coffee, and then what I saw was the impact in the inner city with the less fortunate and what it was doing for me as far as purpose.
Sure.
And then the woman that was my friend, was now my wife. Wow. She funded it for the first 4 or 5 months, and really was not that. We didn't start doing it as this thing. We did it because we were just trying to make a difference.
Right.
And then it became Will You Come Back, from what we call our downtown neighbors.
Yes.
And then we got married, and instead of a honeymoon trip, we felt like the Lord had called us to the mission field. So we served together on the mission field for our first 2 weeks of being married, serving others. And then I just had a vision there and felt like a calling, and saw in South Africa where they had created business arms. Like this word self-sustainability kept coming up. Like, I don't mind working. I love to work and cultivate and create, and I feel like I have an entrepreneur kind of heart to like really build things, and so so that kind of came about in that area where I came back from that and really just began to watch God open doors, these little doors, and to be able to source coffee, to purchase a roaster, to really get on board with how to roast, just the right people coming in and teaching, and like to see that, like, hey, like you're actually doing, like I was self-taught.
Right.
It's like you're actually like highly professional, highly trained people. Like you're actually doing some really good things.
Right.
But let's move some things and tweak some things here. And so it just started.
Gosh.
And that was concept January 2015.
Okay.
Started a roast early on there. And then we put our first shop in Springfield, historic Springfield on Main Street in May 20th of 2017.
Okay.
We were one of the first, besides Hyperion. Us and Hyperion were kind of building out at the same time.
Yeah.
And so, literally, we like believed that's what we were supposed to do. And I told my wife, I said, the way we did it is I get asked to speak at like entrepreneur summits, like all these for UNF, all these things.
Right, like how to make it happen.
And like there are a lot of things that happened that if you don't believe in Jesus, like if you don't have faith in that area, that you just don't understand. Literally, I was like, man, to my wife, I was like, I feel like the Lord said, if we get $10,000, we'll start. And 2 people came up to us. One person came up to us at Cup of Love and said, hey, I'm supposed to give you $10,000. I almost fell out in the road. I almost fell out in the road, and my wife's crying, and it didn't happen. And then we were like, what? And then literally
to be that close.
2 weeks later, another person said the same thing and wrote the check on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we were trying to cultivate, like, it's about lives and about our mission and what we're doing.
Right.
And so I've always really tried to be kind of, I wouldn't say frugal. I do stretch. I do things. But I wanted it to be about the, what was the word that I used? Gosh, not a transaction, but a interaction.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I told my staff early on, I didn't want it to be about I didn't want it to always be about pushing money.
Right.
Right? And in business you do sometimes, but the interaction, the person, life change.
So true.
Value there. And so we wanted to do that. And so it gives us the ability. We're debt free. We don't owe anyone anything.
Wow.
We are small. We're feisty.
Right.
We have reinvested everything. For 4 years straight. And so this year, we've been able to take on wholesale accounts. We're in a new roasting facility.
Gosh, that's awesome.
And we're building that out. We're building it out to do training.
Yeah.
We're doing it for veteran support group meetings. So we're corporate champion for Wounded Warrior Project. So we're doing, we're trying to save lives.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm very active in the veteran community, very active in the community as a whole.
Right.
And someone just asked me from UNF, like, why? And I said, because of a human life, the value of a human life. I really want to raise that conversation of how much does it mean to us? What's the value? And it's priceless, right?
Right.
Priceless.
Yeah, it's very priceless. And so we want to invest.
Gosh, and I love what you said about it not being the transaction, but instead the interaction. Because I think, like Jamila, you can speak to this too, just coffee has become, you know, in a lot of ways, there is the convenience factor and the caffeination factor of like, let's just go through the drive-through, grab something that's going to get me through the day. But really, there are so many incredibly life-changing and just intense conversations, or even just the ones that you connect with people over coffee
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, even like, as you said, culturally, like growing up and moving here, like that was a part of your family too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always, we always, you know, have dinner as a family. Growing up, just had a large Hispanic and Arabic family. So you can imagine. But
I love it.
Yeah, you have dinner. After dinner, everybody pulls, you know, make coffee. Everybody sits around the table and we just talk about life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
so many life changes and so many amazing things and connections. And, you know, I pour into you, you pour into me just over this coffee.
Yeah.
As you pour the coffee.
As we
I love that. I love that. Oh, gosh, it's just so true. Well, okay, so tell me a little bit more about like how did you see coffee making such a positive impact, or like more impact than you realized?
Yeah. I saw it making an impact on the street just through stories. I mean, gosh, we've seen people come up at Cup of Love Ministry every Wednesday morning that said I was going to go get high, and I see you guys out here, and I had a cup of coffee and a conversation, and I didn't want to do that anymore. Wow. Or several occasions where they were like, hey, I was going to jump off the bridge, like to take my life, and something drew me over here. And this conversation is meaningful.
Right.
Like, and we hear that countless number of times. And trust me, we live our life this way. I don't show up to a ministry site. I don't show up to speak. I don't show up to the business and act a certain kind of way. This is who we are. Like me and my wife always say, hey, ministry is not something we do, it's who we are.
Yeah.
And so we pour our lives out for that. So for that, it just is impactful all the way through the process, you know. So we're super grateful to be a part of it and to be able to give back, to be able to give space and have that conversation. Yeah, a lot of conversation.
Yeah, I think that's so cool, because I think a lot of times what we're searching for is kind of like what you were talking about. And it's not that it's something bad to learn. How do you get to a point, you know, like how do you jumpstart something, or how do you run a business well? But sometimes it's more about the mission and the connection, and then the thing that you sell or the thing that you're a part of is just the agent that it happens.
It's a vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. So that you could see that the cup of coffee, yes, was the thing you were handing to someone, or it was the thing that you were attracting.
Yeah.
But underneath it all, really, that's what's more important.
Yeah, no, it completely is. But we also, I mean, gosh, we're passionate about coffee and
I know you are too. That's why I can't wait for this.
From farm, you know what I mean? We're getting opportunity now. Hopefully, like I said, the next 3 to 5 years, I'm hoping to go on the first sourcing trip this fall, maybe.
That's awesome.
To Colombia, probably.
Cool.
That I met 2 amazing guys from Black White Coffee Roasters, both barista champs, and they've kind of befriended me. And then tomorrow I'll be on a call with Mark Michelson, who's a champion roaster.
Wow.
And so, like, people have just come around, like, just strategically, and obviously we know why.
Right.
But I mean, growing.
Gosh,
like, I tell people all the time, man, like, I want to give my best. Like, we want to be the best we can. Like, Onyx has this saying that I love, that if I could turn it a little bit and make it my own, but I'll give them credit that they say don't settle for good enough. Like, just good enough, just average, you know what I mean? And so that has been a mantra that they have used what they had. You know what I mean? They might not have, they're a large company now, but they weren't always.
Right. Yeah.
They utilized and strategized and leveraged and got creative of what they had. But the whole intent was always pushing it. Coffee is so new in this realm. I'm telling you that if we went into science, if we went into extraction, I was on a 4 or 5 hour roasting seminar.
Wow.
With the science of coffee and how it changes through the roast process with lipids and proteins and wax and fat.
That's so interesting.
And just like, it's just phenomenal.
Right.
And when you look at it, like, there's no like certain way.
Right.
Like,
There's no one way.
No.
Right.
To accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. But there is so much potential in that bean.
Gosh.
How to pull all the potential out of that bean is our process, and how do we get there? And so it's a really cool industry. It's a major
And you said
industry.
you were self-taught. Like, did you just start looking more into it? Like, how did that come to be?
Yeah, I actually, I did a little bit of like YouTube. I mean, you can learn anything on YouTube.
No,
right?
really, these days.
Literally, like, and just technology now. I mean, of watching like mentorship.
Right.
Like, you used to think mentorship meant, hey, let me sit down with you on Monday, when now you have podcasts, you have,
So true.
You know what I mean? All kinds of things, YouTube videos, conferences that are now online, you know what I mean? And so it just makes it so accessible to learn and to grow. And I think you got to just grab onto that.
Yeah.
And I just want to share this little nugget. Many times it's not about the information. Like, people ask me constantly, I said it changed when that information was applied.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I actually saw a result.
Right.
That's leadership. That is when you see something powerful happen. Is I took information, I applied it, and it worked.
Yeah.
I saw a result in my life, and now it's influence.
Right.
Now people ask you, hey, how did you do this? What are you doing? It's because, and I used to read and have a ton of information,
Right.
but I really didn't apply it. And then I started, I'm a part of John Maxwell team. I love it. They're amazing. And that was life-changing for me.
Yeah.
Just barely out of homelessness, got married, and received a donation through our ministry.
Right.
I was like, man, I just think I need to invest in myself. And I invested that money into myself, and it was the best amount of money I could have ever invested. And it's a constant growth process. And so applying that intelligence, that thing that you learn, to your life, and actually seeing a result, and then you actually have something to talk about.
Right.
It works, right?
Yeah.
Like you have that.
Jamily, you and I were actually kind of talking about this in the office just last week of kind of like what you said, there's shifts that happen, I think, and there are things that I think individually so many people can be passionate about, like on different levels. You know, y'all are passionate about coffee, or I'm passionate about writing and sharing that creatively. You're really passionate about food, but that's like such an interesting point where you take it from not just being interested in the information of it all, but how do you put it into practice well?
Yeah.
What can I do with it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Jamily, what made you passionate about coffee? Like, what? Because now you're not just the average, I grab a cup of Joe kind of gal.
No. Well, truthfully, I did start at Starbucks. excuse me, that was my first like big job out of college, and I worked there for 2 years. So I was like all the syrups and all the pumps, and I started to enjoy it. And then it was like less syrup, and trying different roasts and different companies, not just Starbucks. And then truly getting down to the black coffee of trying different roasters, and then realizing the depth and the amount of there's just such a difference from cup to cup. And you can close your eyes, take a sip, and have you ever seen Ratatouille?
Yes.
When they're eating the strawberry and the cheese, and it's like fireworks or whatever. And it's coffee is like that. And a lot of people don't, if you just get a caramel frappuccino every time, you'll never know.
Right.
But if you really start looking into these companies and these different roasts and just take your time and go through it. Some people don't like it, and you don't have a palate for it. But my husband and I, we love coffee.
Yeah.
You just close your eyes, you take a sip, and it changes you.
Yeah. I feel like that's everyone has to start somewhere, and I feel like we all started with the sugary, let's just see what this is about. But you start to mature and grow that taste for it.
You do. And I think a lot of coffee companies and shops can help that transition in educating customers or your guests about that of they think they have to go from that 10 pump vanilla, whatever, frat latte to straight like a pour over. You know what I mean? And that's not always the case. It's a journey. So I try to bring people along the journey of saying, hey, let's tone it down. Let's really taste the coffee in that latte. And I think that's where you lose people if you try to get them to go to one end to the extreme to the other instead of enjoy the process.
Right.
And so whether I train companies or new shops and wholesale or individuals and just having a cup of coffee, that's the journey. I didn't start that way either.
Yeah.
So how can I expect someone else to have a palate for that? And it's really cool too. And I always tell people, what you put in your mouth, process it through. Don't just ingest it. Yeah. Food is a big, big part of coffee because of tasting notes.
Yes.
And so I tell my staff, I tell anybody I run into, start tasting your food, the textures, the flavors, and really start to process that through. And when you start to create that, you'll start to really, really expand that profile in your mind of what food is, coffee, any of those items. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's such great advice. I think especially in the convenience factor of coffee these days, where it's really the thing to wake you up to get you to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily creating that space to enjoy it, like you said, but
slow down.
Yeah, kind of you and your husband just knowing this. There's a taste to it beyond just the thing it's getting you to next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so cool. Okay, well, Jason, also, will you talk a little bit more about how you are directly helping veterans through your shop?
Yes, 100%. We, obviously, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. It affects me every day of my life, from multiple suicide attempts to purpose and mission. I think we all lose that semblance when we kind of come out and transition to what we call civilian life. And so that's a big deal. Staying connected. How do you do that? How do you have a passion for life and purpose and mission? And so I think they identify with that. So through Social Grounds Coffee Company, we empower through all kinds of organizations. We're a corporate champion for Wounded Warrior. We donate to their 5K run every year. We host a lot of events with them, and they see the value in what we do together. And so we've partnered together. And we have a Warrior blend that's on our shelf. And what that does is help to advocate, continue to bring awareness and change through what's going on through our veterans and what's happening. We just hired our 4th veteran. His name is Britton. We call him Britt, Army medic, and he's going to help in the warehouse. And so our goal is not only employment of a veteran that needs opportunity, but also mentorship. And so to walk with hand in hand. And I said, there's no better mentorship than to work together, right? Accomplish something together. And so it's been a powerful change to watch this because I didn't have all the answers.
Right.
Originally, I thought I was going to hire all veterans and homeless veterans.
Right.
And it's morphed. I tell people entrepreneurship, and when you start to paint that canvas and get to the detail, things change, And so I really started to hone in on what our direct mission was and passion and how we could directly help. And so creating this track, for lack of a better word, through employment, we want them to accomplish everything they've dreamed of. Staying with us is not always the goal.
Right. Sure.
It could be a launching pad to anything they've dreamt of in their life to accomplish, but we want to start there.
Yeah.
And so we do a lot of employment, and we hope to grow that through our subscription. So when you buy from us, your life has changed. The more that people buy, and we're trying to get the subscription up because we believe that every 500 subscribers monthly, we'll hire another veteran.
Wow.
We'll get them in the right track,
That's huge.
mentored, and on board with whatever that next thing is. So
Right.
yeah, we're pushing that in our new facility now.
Gosh. Yeah, and in a community like Jacksonville that is so veteran heavy, but also just servicemen and women heavy.
Yeah.
Having that transition piece that is something that like you said, is somewhat trendy, but also very practical.
Yeah.
That it's huge that they could find that track and that different level of purpose after something that is so regimented.
Yeah, I think a lot of us think that, and there's some truth to it. Like talking to a civilian, you don't understand.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's just the truth of the matter. So when you get camaraderie and someone's has a semblance of being in it with you and understanding what you've gone through, I think that's a big part of can I understand?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you try to, but when you've done it, then there's a different level there. And so trying to keep that community. And I ask questions all the time. I had a guy drop off, and he was a Marine Corps vet, and asked him. And I think a lot of times they get in their own stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I had to kind of convey to him in a conversation on my porch, like, hey, I know you're well, but there are many that aren't. And we need to come around and support that. There's organizations like Vets for Vets. They meet quarterly. I'm a part of that, advocating on behalf of the veteran. Operation Barnabas, I'm on the board for. They're in Clay County. A friend of mine, Trey Fagan, he's doing amazing work out there in Clay County. I had a phone call. Hey, Jason, I'm a veteran. I'm homeless. I'm at Panera over on, God, what's the road over there? Temaquana area over there on 17.
Oh, Roosevelt.
Yep.
Yeah.
In that area. And I just need help. I heard your name.
Gosh.
Someone gave me your name. He
so
said
amazing.
I was used alcohol, drugs, and lost my benefits, and I have nothing. And so Operation Barnabas made a phone call. They actually picked him up that day, got him in a hotel, and started the track of getting him everything he needed to get on board. And so I'm super proud to be part of these guys who are doing actual work.
Right.
I always tell people, listen, I mean, there are people that walk around and have meetings and have things, and I'm very vocal. I'm like, listen, I won't waste my time. I won't waste my time to have another meeting or for you to give me another pin. I don't care about awards. I don't care about any of that stuff. You get me with people that are actually doing something. I mean, like, even if it's wrong sometimes, at least you're doing something. You know what I mean? Not that we want to go down that road. But I'm like, hey, like, give some effort, So I'm like, because my time is limited, and I want to help, but I don't want to just hang out and just do something and just have meaningless, non-impactful conversations where it doesn't go anywhere. Great ideas, but nothing happens. So it's a big deal for me. So to see that life change, to see vets get the help they need, to advocate in any way I can. I mean, we're still struggling. I mean, I'm still like fighting for VA benefits for disability that I never get. And so it's a tough road, but somebody's got to fight it. Somebody's got to do it. And we as a small business company, veteran-owned company, I mean, hey, we love everybody. Trust me. I don't want to ever put us in. We've literally had to come back into the phase of saying that we're veteran-owned because people didn't know that, or we support veterans. We've had to really rebrand and restructure because I love all people and I love coffee, and now we're trying to kind of figure this out. And so we're working with a marketing team and trying to like convey the message, you know what I mean? Like draw like through words, you know what I mean? Paint that picture of simply who we are and what we do and why do you buy? We're cause oriented, right?
Right.
So you have this pinnacle of, hey, I love the cause and I'll buy the coffee, or I love the coffee and
Right.
you get the cause. We have
Right.
two different
true.
dynamics here that we're trying to work with and trying to really convey that message.
Yeah, I love that. There really can be, whether it is your direct passion or just even your vocation, there can be such purpose. And I feel like that's kind of one of those things where you talked about there is one way to go about it, which is just like to get the name out there and to get
Right.
busy. But that's where I think even like at Root, helping people put down roots and seeing that it's a big decision for a family or what it's going to do for the future of the family in buying a house, not just like, let's get the next sale.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's hugely important. Okay, well, our very final question for you both. What is your favorite coffee drink?
First thing in the morning, it's got to be my favorite. With a little cream, just black. Add just a tiny bit of cream.
Tiny
And,
bit? Okay.
No sugar.
Yeah, I'm pour overs and straight espresso. I mean, I'm on this journey. I do the first drink for purpose of getting me going.
Right.
Like it's all that it is for.
Yeah.
But along my way, I do a lot of cuppings. We have to change profiles. We are tasting coffees. And so the pour over is the dynamic piece of the perfect cup of coffee.
Right.
For that, espresso is a different way to extract coffee. And so though they're highly different in nature, I don't know many people that drink straight espresso. There are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's a hard one. But when you taste an amazing shot of espresso, to change your life.
Gosh, wow.
Yeah, you're chasing.
So
everyone
smooth.
chases that thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, and it's hard to duplicate in a lot of different ways. But you chase it. So a pour over and extraction is the perfect cup of coffee. Right temperature, right amount of coffee, right grind size, and the right amount coming out. And so and for the right amount of time.
Right.
And so you perfect that, and then you get new gadgets. Oh God, it's a constant thing. I just got a new pour over system.
Oh.
Yeah, it's called Espro. And so Kalita was my choice, and I think I'm turning. I know it's crazy, but it's just a new. So it's not
A little
just
hesitant.
I've found a lot of complexity out of it. It has 1,500 micro holes in the bottom instead
Wow.
of 3
Wow.
like a Kalita. It's got a different base. It's still flat bottom. Flat bottom's my way to go. V60. I'm kind of shied away from that now, but yeah. So it's cool, and it's 2 minutes instead of 3:30. So you're actually saving 1:30, especially for
That's
a shop
important.
and cafe.
Wow.
Yeah. If you've watched any shop to have a pour over system, some high end shops go with automated systems.
Yeah.
Like the Marco, I know Black White uses that, and they're very fond of it because you can pump them out.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, you put the coffee in, and the machine does the work. You don't have to watch it. And then there are small guys like us that still craft,
Right.
still pour, and it takes time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Well, is there anything that we did not cover that you feel like we need to cover?
Hey, buy from Root Realty. Hey, I'm an advocate. I know what you guys do. Marianne and Jerry, I know them personally, and you guys are amazing. The group that
Thank
you guys have, and the work that you put in. I know so many other ones there, so
Right.
if I missed your name, I'm sorry. Don't come find me. But you guys do amazing work. Your passion, your heart, and just why you do it, families,
Yeah.
and putting them in the right home.
Yeah.
Is a big deal. Yeah, where
that.
you live, the roots you make. Yeah, that was good. The way you put that, the roots you make. That was good.
Well,
And I will
Oh,
say,
yeah, please.
if you haven't been to Social Grounds
Oh,
lately, they
thank you.
just got an amazing red velvet couch in there.
yes. Perfect for your Instagram opportunities
Yes.
and the best
I
coffee.
can attest to that, and it's very comfortable.
Yes.
Coffee table just came in yesterday.
Oh, perfect.
So
it
we got
wasn't
it.
there yet when
Yeah,
I
it
was
wasn't
We'll
there,
have to
so it
have
makes
that.
it
The rug
more.
was beautiful.
Thank you. So we're trying to make it more cozy in there.
Love that. Love that. Well, for the root of it all, our top 3 takeaways, I would say number 1, interaction over transaction.
Yes.
Coffee is so much bigger than just paying for your cup, getting it quick, but really the conversations that happen. And then kind of to go along with it, the second one is coffee is community, that there's so much that can be invested into one another's lives, whether that's sitting with your friend or even just taking that time, like you said, Jamily, in the morning to yourself,
Yeah.
that it really is investing. and then in the larger community as well. And then thirdly, I would say that just as coffee was the agent, there can be so much purpose in what you're doing in every single day. So I feel like those were all amazing things that we learned. So to wrap it up, first, Jamily, tell us tell everybody where they can follow you, find you, reach out to you, that sort of thing.
Yes, my Instagram handle, is that what you call it? It's at jamily.realtor. And I'm over at Root, so just reach out.
Yeah, it's her face. All that is all on our website.
It's all
contact information, all that good stuff. Yeah. Okay, Jason, how about you?
Cup of Love Ministry, that's our heart. That's why we started.
Yeah.
You can find us at cupofloveministry.com. Our handle, I think, is Cup of Love Ministry on both Facebook and Instagram. Social Grounds is socialgroundscoffeeco.com. You can find us at Social Grounds Coffee handler for Instagram and Facebook as well. And then my personal is, I think, jason.kellaway.
Perfect.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Make sure you stop by Springfield. It's at the very end of the block. And like you said, now Springfield is blossoming and blooming in so many awesome businesses. So definitely make sure to support local, but definitely go in there and support the veterans and the mission that they have at Social Grounds. It's awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Let's Get Real Estate podcast. If you would like to also watch on YouTube, we are also available there if you're more of a visual person. But make sure you rate, review, subscribe, and share this episode. I know you probably know a coffee lover who wants to get more invested in what to try, or someone who really wants to make a difference in the community. I think this would be an awesome episode to tune into. And then make sure you tune in for a new episode every other Wednesday, released in your favorite podcast app. We will see you soon. Thank you so much.